Good Wednesday morning. You're joining WBZ meteorologist Sarah Robleski and executive weather producer Terry Eliason. We are tracking our next winter storm. Hard to imagine, of course, after we're going to be talking about spring-like conditions today, but already our eyes are focused on Friday as some colder air will work on in tonight into tomorrow, and that cold air setting the stage as our next system approaches. Significant snow accumulations possible with over a half a foot in some spots. Of course, we're going to be watching very closely just how much snow will fall as some milder air looks to work on in. I think the best potential will be farther south where we could see some of those totals cut. But with this system, we are talking about mainly snow. Now, there is the potential to see some sleet mixing on in, but we're really not talking about coastal concerns or strong winds that could lead to some power outages. It's really going to be a snow event and an all-day snow event because we are talking about the pre-dawn hours. Snow will advance into the region. Darker shades of blue here indicating that snow rate of an inch an hour at times. And this continues through the afternoon and tapering by the evening hours. Now, one thing you noticed, it looked mainly snow. If we could back that up a little bit, you'll actually see there will be some mixing that does occur and eventually a changeover to rain in places like the Vineyard as well as Nantucket. But there are also some newer information coming on in that actually brings that sleet line farther north, and that will be what we're watching for the trends for the day today, because this is something that has the potential to really change the outcome of just how much snow we'll see. But where it is all mainly snow, that is where you're going to see your highest totals, over a half a foot, if not up to a foot in spots. But this is where we're looking at about 8 to 12 inches of snow right now. But you notice the totals get cut as you travel farther south, and that's because we have that potential of seeing that milder air work in and snow to start changing over to some sleet. So right now about 4 to 8 inches in and around the Boston area to about Providence. And then as you get towards the South Shore and South Coast, 2 to 4 inches before changing over, and then coatings up to a couple of inches. But this could likely shift as we go through the day today as new information comes in. But there are still some varying, of course, differences between some of the models, but it's still, there will be plenty of areas that will be impacted. The roadways likely going to get pretty slick and slippery throughout the day on Friday. Impacts to not only the morning commute, but also lingering into the evening commute as well. And visibility will be tough at times, but at least we're not going to be dealing with some of those strong winds. It's just going to be snow with this one, Terry.
Yeah, so I'm monitoring the questions on Facebook. Feel free to send us your questions. Interesting thing here is I already saw a couple of people bemoaning the fact it's another Friday lost. Just about all of our snowstorms this year since the start of January have come on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. I think like 98% of the snow that's fallen in Boston on a Friday or a weekend. So a Lyft driver, Benjamin, was just saying another Friday without any Lyft clients. You know, he just likes to drive people around on Friday nights. I mean, the timing is such that I think the worst will be in the morning. So, you know, morning commute certainly affected coming in 2, 3, 4 a.m. I think by the evening, by 4 or 5 p.m., the snow is definitely, you know, shutting down. Yeah. So it's just a matter of how quickly do they clean up. But it's just remarkable how many weekend storms we've had, and here comes another one.
Yeah, you know, and this is going to be something that there are school vacations happening this week too, right? So people are off, people are traveling, people are skiing. It's really hard. This snow is actually a welcome to some of the ski resorts after we're talking about temperatures today climbing into the 60s. And you're probably thinking this afternoon, oh my goodness, how can it snow with it being so warm? Well, we've got really cold air coming on in, but this is a really good graphic because I always like to tell folks and kids when I'm at school visits, we treat the atmosphere kind of like a layer cake, 3 layers, different situations happening in each layer. And sure enough, for us, we can talk about different temperatures at each layer. When you have an all snow event, it is cold all the way up in the clouds, all the way down to the ground. The snowflakes continue to fall. But there are times that in between the cold air, you can get a nose of mild air well above us, a few thousand feet. And that allows for the snow, as it falls down so nicely, to melt into a raindrop. And then as that raindrop falls into the colder layer below it, it freezes back up into an ice pellet, and that is what we call sleet. So the question for us with this particular storm is we know we're getting precipitation and it looks to come in as snow, but just how quickly will that mild layer push on in and just how far north will it get to change over that snow to some sleet. So that is really, I think, the biggest concern that we're watching. And it really looks as though this area shaded in pink here, kind of matches my dress, just north of Boston, along the Pike, north, all the way down to the south coast. This is the biggest question mark of just how fast we'll see that transition, if we'll see it at all, because there are also some indications that show that it could be just a mainly snow event for this area. But some of the higher res model data does suggest that we could be seeing a quicker transition, which would cut down totals significantly across parts of southeastern Massachusetts. So we still have some time. I know it's going to be starting during the pre-dawn hours of Friday, but we do have through the day today to get more information gathered, as well as for the day tomorrow as well. But it does look as though it's really going to be not much of an event down across parts of the Cape and Islands with that quick changeover to rain, but still could be significant enough on the roadways to cause some problems, especially as the snow will be coming down an inch an hour before that changeover. But if you're going to be traveling north right now, that's the best bet of seeing over half a foot of snow, up to a foot of snow. Just pretty incredible again after a day that we're going to be nearing a record high today. Yeah,
and as we look at that snow total map, Sarah, interesting to note that the 8 to 12, so that's the areas north of the Pike, I think we're probably most confident in, because those areas we feel like have the least risk of going over to sleet for a prolonged period of time. South of the Pike, 4 to 8 inches. We're going to have to look at that again this afternoon when Eric comes in. We'll be studying all the new model data. It could be that those areas have to either come north or shrink or be cut down depending on how much sleet gets involved. I just got a question from Jeff on Facebook about the fluff factor in this one. And interesting question. Certainly the farther north and west you go, if you get into central New England, northern New England, lighter snow, fluffier snow. But with that introduction of sleet into the system, clearly you're not going to be, if you get 5 inches of snow with sleet on top, that's not going to be easy to shovel or to plow around. That's more likely south of Boston. Again, the farther north and west you go into northern Worcester County, the colder the temperatures, and the easier it will be to stack up. But I don't think there's going to be a major fluff factor in our area with this one.
Temperatures are going to be in the 30s, so we are looking at more of that normal snow, if not a little bit heavier, just because we're adding in that warmth, adding in more water content there. And therefore, where we do see some snow initially, even down across the southeast before that changeover to sleet, that's going to compact it down, so it may even look less than what has actually fallen, and it will be tougher to move. It will also be more likely to cling to trees and power lines. But again, this storm not really bringing that oomph in winds, and therefore the power outage risk is lower, even though this type of snow will be sticking and clinging to some of those tree limbs and power lines out there. But there may be a bit of a fluff to the north and west, but more typical, as temperatures again will be mainly in the 30s. We don't have the extreme cold of those temperatures in the teens, where then you could just get those snowfall ratios just really incredible, like we had in the past storm, at least in the blizzard. I mean, they were just really wild out there, but this one just looks to be, I was going to say very typical, but this February has been anything but typical, as we've had snowstorms mixed in with record high temperatures. So I guess it's par for the course as we go forward this Friday for this system to come on in.
Yeah, it's really unbelievable, Sarah. So current temperatures right now, 62 in Boston. It's 67 degrees in Nashua, and what is that, 11 a.m.? I mean, this is mid-February. That is almost unreal. I mean, we've only hit 70 in Boston 4 times before in February, and we do have an outside shot at it today, depending on how much sunshine we get this afternoon. But consider we're going from the mid to upper 60s to the 20s in about a 12-hour span tonight. So that's a 50-degree drop in some places, and then starting from about 5 o'clock tonight through about 5 a.m. tomorrow. Just unbelievable.
And that's it too. Folks are like, well, how will the snow even stick when you have temperatures like this? Well, because we're going to have that quick drop in temperatures, drastic drop overnight tonight, we have pretty much all day temperatures are going to stay below average. We're going to be in the lower to middle 30s, and then it's going to get cold again. So as the snow comes on in, the stage is set that we're going to see the snow stick right away because temperatures will, at least for a full day, been below freezing for the most part. I mean, look at this drastic drop by early tomorrow morning. We are back into the 20s, if not to the teens to the north and west. So it is going to be a really big difference in temperatures as you head outside tomorrow compared to the 60s. And again, we're watching those record highs not only in Boston, which is 68 degrees, but also Worcester today of 64 degrees. So it's just going to be pretty incredible, the change in temperatures. And again, it's going to be really cold as we go through the day tomorrow in the 30s. And those 30s stay with us for our Friday. So as the snow comes on in, initially, it's going to allow for it to stick. But then again, we're going to have to watch for that warmer air to try to nose its way into the region. Just how far north it gets, that's still something that we're really watching and looking forward.
Yeah, I think, Sarah, most of the questions we get coming in revolve around the timeline. I think the fact that it's school vacation week, like you said, there's not a lot of folks, obviously no one's in school, and they are in New Hampshire, but not in Massachusetts. But a lot of folks may be flying back from vacation Friday in Logan. So several questions about, my flight is Friday morning, my flight is Friday evening, I'm coming back Saturday, will it be cleared up? I had someone earlier Friday night flight at 8 p.m. at Logan. I think that the thing to stress here is that the timing will be more so early in the day for the steady and heavy stuff. So starts well before dawn. The heavy and the brunt of the storm comes midday, early afternoon, and probably by late afternoon, it's winding down.
Yeah, and I think one thing you have to think about if you have a flight, too, is where's your plane coming from? So if it was supposed to come from the morning hours and get to your location to fly back to Boston, you have to keep in mind there may be some delays. I would initially think at least through the morning midday hours in the city before we start to see some improvement. But I would expect travel delays and some impacts absolutely for Friday. Perhaps by the evening we'll start to see flights leaving and perhaps coming in, but you have to look at where your flight is coming from first to really, hopefully you can move it. Obviously, if you can, flying in on tomorrow would be better, as well as Saturday, because we are looking at dry weather tomorrow, and for the weekend, we're actually going to be dry, but still staying pretty cold.
Yeah, so I guess we'll wrap this up by saying Eric Fisher will be in this afternoon. Eric and I will be looking at all the new model data. We got a lot of, between now and our 5 p.m. news, a lot of new model data, a lot of new information. That sleet line, we'll try to figure out how far north that gets, and maybe we'll have some tweaks to that snow model forecast or the map forecast by this evening. And Sarah, I think we'll all be back here certainly on Friday. Jacob, everyone's going to be in to take everyone through the storm.
Of course, and we also have a blog on cbsboston.com if you want to get some more information there as well. Thanks so much.
All new this morning, a state trooper injured